Okay.
As you can tell, this is grassroots democracy at its finest hour. I'm Kathy Wells, President of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. Welcome to our Judicial Candidate Forum here today. We're pleased to present 19 of the 20 candidates for judicial office on the March 3rd ballot in a forum. Sean Johnson was called away at the last minute. We are pleased to have candidates for the state Supreme Court, the circuit courts of the state's 6th Judicial District, and the Little Rock District Court. If a candidate does not get a majority of the votes cast then, there will be a runoff election in the November 2020 general election. The statements today of 3 minutes each will be recorded and posted on our Facebook page at clrn.ar. Do please publicize your statements. This is a turnover for this generation in our justice system. The last time this occurred was 20 years ago. The candidates for state Supreme Court will sit on the final court of appeal for cases originating in the lower trial courts throughout the state or through the Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court also has ultimate authority over the conduct of lawyers and judges in the state. There are 6 openings for circuit judges in our district, which covers Pulaski and Perry counties. This is the largest number of vacancies in memory. The new judges will hear cases in juvenile, family, criminal, and civil matters. The district court-based candidates will have jurisdiction primarily for traffic citations. We recognize no policy or issue questions may be asked. However, the coalition would ask each candidate to state their position on the administrative proposal to create a statewide uniform standard for handling questions of ability to pay fines, known as a bench card, before imposing any such sentence or fine. And now we will begin with the Supreme Court candidates. If Welch and Webb would come forward and take their seats, then we can begin to organize this. We need Chip Morgan. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Judge Welch.
You want me to do something?
Stand and speak at the podium. That puts you in the camera view.
How y'all doing?
All right.
I'm Chip Welch, and I feel like I'm at the fraternity meeting of all the judges that I run around the state with. I see all you people every day, and sometimes 3 times a day. I'm currently a sitting circuit judge in the 16th Division, Pulaski County. I am married to Cheryl. I have a dog named Frankie whose hair festoons all over my sweater. I have 4 grandchildren, Lucy, Sadie, CJ, and Abby, and they're at Disney World right now with my daughter. I have a stepson. 1 kid is a Democrat, 1 kid is a Republican, and the son-in-law went to Iraq and fought for the right of the 2 of them to disagree at the dinner table. And we bless his heart for coming back safe. I'm interested in good government. I'm interested in nonpartisan Supreme Court positions. I have been preparing for this job my whole life. I've been wanting to be a lawyer and a judge since I was 10. I found out cowboys didn't make much money and didn't have much to do with society. I have appeared before every court in the state of Arkansas, every level court. I've appeared in the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in St. Louis. I've appeared in courts in Missouri and Oklahoma. My practice was mostly representing individuals in injury and civil rights cases. John Walker and I pursued a case for 5 years against Walmart on behalf of African American truckers, and it resulted into Walmart's credit of settlement that required Walmart to start recruiting and hiring African American truckers where they hadn't historically in the past. I have worked with the Arkansas Committee on Model Jury Instructions. I was on that committee for 6 years and helped write the instructions that judges read to juries. I am currently a chairman of the committee appointed by the Chief Justice, which works on complex litigation questions and on access to justice for individuals. And that's and Amy over here is one of the people who helps on that. She co-chairs the other subcommittee. We're interested in providing access to justice for so many people who appear in my court and people who appear before all the courts in Arkansas who cannot afford a lawyer and don't know the procedure. And we have been to seminars, and I've taught seminars to people on how it is that you have to look as a judge at litigants who represent themselves. You know, we used to have that thing about he who has himself for a client has a fool for a lawyer. But anymore, it is he who has himself for a lawyer is a victim of a socioeconomic system that just doesn't allow them to have enough money to hire a lawyer. That's right. And you have to look at the world through their eyes. And if all they see is a bunch of suits,
Time.
then that's not good. So I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Bench card position, sir. Bench card position, ability to pay.
I support the bench card.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Womack Webb, please.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here this morning. I, like Judge Welch, know a lot of the judges here at the table, so I feel like I'm in front of a jury of my peers right now, which I have been in front of a lot of juries. So, but I wanted to just give you a little background about myself. I grew up in Southwest Little Rock. I had attended McClellan High School. It was a great high school. Went there and graduated in 1975. I have 4 sisters who all went through McClellan. So there's a lot of Womack girls that made it through McClellan. And the other thing about my family is we were very devout churchgoers, and so that was the thing I said about my family was my dad was the first one to get to the church and the last one to leave. And we were that was something that we did as a family together, and it's made an impression on my life. One of the things that my parents emphasized to all 5 of us girls were they wanted us all to have a college education if possible. Now, my dad worked, he was an engineer, but he wasn't paid a whole lot, so we relied a lot on scholarship funds and grants and loans to get through school. But all 5 of us did get through college, and as my mom used to say, she wanted us to have the opportunities that she didn't have as a young lady growing up. So she went to business school, but she never got to go to college. So we did go to college, and I graduated as the top graduating senior in my class. I went on to law school here in Little Rock. Was a classmate with Gary Rogers out here, some other folks. But graduated proudly from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. From there, I went into practice. I originally practiced with the Southwestern Bell in Oklahoma and then in Arkansas during the breakup of the phone company. Then I went into a law firm here in Little Rock and worked protecting the taxpayers' money, representing the FDIC, trying to recover all the monies that all these guys stole from the savings and loans of banks. And that's what I did for 10 years. I was at home in Slate County, married my husband, he's here, cool. Met him in law school, we got married. I was in Slate County at home. We had a prosecutor named Dan Harmon who was running the office as a criminal enterprise, which he was later convicted of and sent to federal prison for. And I got frustrated that he was running our justice system, so I filed for prosecuting attorney, ran, was elected 3 times by the voters in Saline, Gray, and Hot Spring County. The first time in Saline, the next 2 times as prosecutor. As prosecutor, I helped create a shelter for domestic violence victims. We didn't have a shelter in Benton for victims of domestic violence, so I helped open a shelter for victims of domestic violence. Well, and I'm starting to circuit judge, first female circuit judge, and I appreciate your vote for support.
Bench card position.
I'm not sure if Supreme Court judges are supposed to tell positions on legal issues.
This is just an administrative practice.
I would support that.
Thank you. District Court, Egan and Fleming, please. Well, we got some cords there. Let's be clear how we don't hurt it. First, we're going to hear from Peggy Egan.
Good morning, and thank you, Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, for this opportunity. Thanks to those of you who are in attendance, and especially thank you to those who are going to look at this via the video feed. My name is Peggy Egan. You may recognize me as I was a candidate last year in the special election for District Court Judge. I'm seeking to replace a judge who has presided over what is commonly referred to as Little Rock Traffic Court. A seat he has held since before I even went to law school. Because I think it's time to move traffic court in a better direction. That direction is in improved community safety through improved compliance with traffic codes, through education and public service announcements, through examining everything from scheduling court times and alternatives to money fines, to looking at ability to pay before assessing any bond or even any fines or court costs, to improve communication between the court staff and the ticketed driver, to minimize the amount of time defendants, witnesses, attorneys, and court staff wait for cases to be called. Judge Fleming is way more experienced than I am. He certainly knows the traffic code better than I do. I think I know people better, though. People struggling, but willing to accept consequences. People who might just need a little help to come into compliance with licensing and registration and court requirements. I pardon the use of the notes, but you know we're very strict on time here. People with capacity to change behavior just by being seen, being listened to, and being better informed. And if I win this election, I'll have 9 months to memorize that traffic code. I want safer commuting. I want drivers to be properly licensed and adequately insured. I want traffic laws to be enforced equally through the entirety of the city, and violators to be punished fairly. I'd like to remind you that all 8 district court judgeships are elected countywide. In fact, because of overlap of jurisdiction with circuit courts, Perry County voters also will be part of electing the local district court judges. I promise to be a full-time judge, a full-time focus on community improvement through fair treatment and outcome-driven procedure. You won't find any public endorsements of my candidacy because I don't ask for nor accept such endorsement. In fact, I want so badly to not even be subconsciously influenced that my campaign does not even accept money contributions. I'm trying to meet people and garner votes face to face. You won't get a mailer through the Postal Service, but my campaign team may hand you a flyer in passing. I won't have billboards or TV commercials. I'd like you to pick Peg on March 3rd.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. A few weeks ago, a woman came up to me in a parking lot and said, "Judge, you are a character in a story my family tells 100 times a year." She and her 16-year-old daughter had been in court 5 years earlier, and I had asked the teenager, "Did you realize that you were going 12 miles an hour over the speed limit?" Answer, well, I was texting at the time, so I really wasn't sure how fast I was going. I'm Judge Vic Fleming. I'm running for election to the Little Rock Traffic Judge, formerly State District 31, Little Rock 2nd Division. I know that's a mouthful. Pulaski and Perry counties will be voting on this position, in addition to approximately 1,000 traffic cases per month. I also hear 25 to 30 domestic relations and real estate cases assigned from circuit court. When I ran for this office in 1996, I made 3 promises. Number 1, that I would serve for at least 20 years. Check, kept that one. Number 2, that I would explain my rulings. My experience in municipal courts around the state was that the judges very seldom said why they were ruling the way they were ruling. And they didn't much like it if you asked them to do so. Anyhow, I think it's something that people who were in front of me deserve, and so I do it, and I get good feedback from it, mostly from the lawyers, but also from the litigators as well. Number 3, that I would use the court to educational purposes. In that regard, I started a program called Campus Court. where I took DWI sentencings into school assemblies and followed that with an interactive lecture on substance abuse issues. And number two, I've always set minors tickets on the same day and at the same time so that teenagers are in court with their peers. And I make the most, or try to make the most, of every educational moment. In the case of the 16-year-old texter that I told a moment ago, as soon as the laughter in the courtroom died down, she said, "I'm sorry, I learned my lesson and it'll never happen again." A few weeks ago, a woman came up to me in a restaurant and told me in great detail all about her case, her son's case, from a few years ago, thanking me and telling me what a meaningful experience it had been for her son. And I said, "Well, thank you so much. Can you remind me of maybe when that was?" And she said, "Well, let's see. He was 17 at the time, and he's 39 now. It was my first year in office. It had to have been." So I kept the promises that I made in 1996, plus I trained my staff in customer service and efficiency. Just smiling, giving your name, calling people by their name, using Mr. and Mrs., and saying please and thank you is something the public is entitled to, even though they've come to court. Let's face it, the word on the street generally is that they didn't want to be there. So, if elected, I promise more of the same. Courtesy, professionalism, fairness, and impartiality. So when the election rolls around, you'll go all the way down the ballot and find the position, State District 31, Little Rock 2, and vote to re-elect Judge Vic Fleming. And to answer your question about the bench cards, when I'm sentencing someone, I believe that all aggravating and mitigating factors, including financial circumstances, need to be taken into account. My understanding is the bench card program will make that an easier and more efficient process, and so I look forward to seeing it implemented. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Tucker, Finkelstein, and Richardson, please take your seats here. You're going to set up the cards. And please remember, we've got refreshments at the back of the room. Feel encouraged to get some goodies anytime. We're so glad you're all here today. Let's see, we're going to have, as you have on the printed sheet, Casey Tucker will speak first.
Hi, my name is Casey Tucker, and I'm running for Circuit Judge, 2nd Division. Thank you, Kathy, for having us, and everyone for showing up this morning. We all know that with the field of candidates this large, we welcome any opportunity to get in front of the public. We already know this is a nonpartisan race. Judges serve all people regardless of political party, period. This is what I believe, Kathy. We live in the best place in the world. This is where my parents chose to raise me. This is where I chose to return after law school to raise my family and earn a living. I met and fell in love with Mike at the age of 16. We celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary this year. I went to J. Fair High School. He went to Catholic High School. We have 2 children, ages 20 and 17. They're both very busy with work, school activities, and volunteering. They are quite independent. Our way of life, our justice system, is the envy of the world. I truly believe that. The words, "In God we trust," is not something we simply see carved into the header of courthouses. I believe it still serves as the anchor of our democracy. Perhaps you agree with me. I'm the first person in my family to graduate college, the only person to earn her law license. I did that more than 2 decades ago. I've been a hard worker my entire life, and I'm not about to change now. I've spent my entire career practicing in circuit courts, much like the 2nd Division. We are looking to replace Judge Piazza, who's retiring at the end of this year. None of us up for election in this division have held the position of circuit judge. I'm proud to use my law license to help my clients and to give back to community volunteering. I'm also proud to use my law license to help my church. I believe that any issues that arise in church regarding real estate, bylaws, employment, whatever issue may arise, I'm there to help them out. Your faith is important to you, it's important to me too. I'm also proud to use my law license to help my family and to preserve the safety of their school. I was recently involved with parents when we had to respond to a clear and present child predator threat. We must be vigilant, active, and ready at all times. I believe children deserve a safe and secure learning environment. And as your judge, I will always put the best interest of children first, whether it's in divorce, custody, or grandparent visitation rights. School safety and drawing a very bright line with regard to that is very important to me. Last, I'm also proud to use my law license to help aging Arkansans. I think it's very important that we help those who've worked hard their entire life. In other words, today, I would, appreciate that you vote for me come March 3rd. I believe you want a judge who's willing to listen, who knows what's important, and will be there for you. Regarding your question,
Bench card ability to pay.
I do support that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Hugh Finkelstein, and I am proud to be here today. A little bit about me. I'm a husband to my wife, Ginger. I'm a proud father to my 2 children, Cassie and Will, and I'm a proud son of my parents who live here in Little Rock. Other things I hope you remember of my talk, I have 2 of them. First, that I'm the only candidate who's running in my race that's actually been a judge. Second, that with all the people running, that it's going to be tough to forget the name Finkelstein because it's going to be the funniest name you see on the ballot. The reason why I'm running is clear. I believe I can help more people as a judge than I can as a lawyer. I've been a lawyer practicing for almost 28 years, and I've dedicated my life to serving others and helping people, and I will continue to do that on the bench. I also have some life experience that uniquely qualifies me as a judge. Back in 2008, my wife Kim passed away suddenly. And in the middle of our grief and mourning, we had to go to court, we had to hire a lawyer, we had to have a custody or a guardianship hearing over her daughter from a prior marriage, Cassie. And even though I wasn't the lawyer, I sat there as a client and I prayed and I hoped that the judge would get it right. And he did. And I was blessed, and I'm able to raise my daughter, and now, as she's 26, she's blessed me with my first grandchild, little baby boy Elias. My time on the bench was 2 years. I sat as district judge, and I presided over thousands of cases. And I've also presided over the cases that this judge will hear in circuit court. The new docket plan that was recently approved is that Judge Piazza's cases will be domestic and probate, no longer civil and criminal. And those are the kind of cases that I've handled and I've presided over. I've seen the court and the system through every angle. I've been in private practice representing civil and criminal plaintiffs and defendants. I've been a prosecutor. I've even sat as a juror in 2017. I have the experience, empathy, thank you, and understanding to make these hard decisions. I've made them before, and I know I can be a good judge because I've been a good judge. I have a proven record of fairness and a judicial temperament that sets me apart from other candidates. And for that reason, I'm asking for your vote on March 3rd. Regarding the bench card, I totally agree with the bench card. When I sat as a district judge, we tried to make those decisions and incorporated socioeconomic issues into decisions on what fines should be or whether there should be community service. And I even went further. When they couldn't perform community service, we allowed them to come to court in lieu of community service and sit in court for a couple hours as their day of service. I believe that socioeconomic issues are important and need to be taken into account. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Richardson. I'm the 3rd candidate here for Judge Piazza's position, 2nd Division Circuit Court. I've been a lawyer here in Pulaski County for 18 years. 10 years of that I served at the Attorney General's office. I was hired under Governor Beebe and continued to serve under Dustin McDaniel, who's now my law partner. I've been practicing in civil litigation, which is what this court will handle, civil litigation. Civil law is when somebody sues you or you need to sue somebody. I'm the kind of lawyer that you come to help you navigate through that court process. I've done it for many years and very familiar with it. I was born and raised here in Pulaski County. My dad grew up across from Park Plaza Mall when Park Plaza was a meadow for horses, and University Avenue was a dirt road named Hay Street. So I'm invested in this community and want to make it better. And how can circuit judges help to make this community better? Well, I want to make another point about the change that's happened in this community since then. In this campaign, we go to events all the time. I go to events downtown. When I was a child growing up, you didn't go downtown at night. Leawood was the west end of the world at that time. Now, downtown is vibrant. This community's been revitalized. Our our neighborhoods are growing, improving. How can circuit judges help that process? The bench card, I think, is a good step towards helping to alleviate some of the pressure on our county jail, which is chronically full. And it leads me to believe we need to find other ways to help people who fall in trouble. I think our specialty courts, drug courts, veterans court, mental health court will help to alleviate those problems by addressing the issues that people face that land them in criminal trouble. I've got legislative experience that will help the judiciary reach out to the legislative branch to support those programs. This position, being civil litigation, another way that it can help our community grow better is it can be a reliable court. After 18 years of practicing here, I'm convinced that one of the most important things that needs to happen in our judiciary is our judges and our courts need to be reliable so people know what's going to happen when they come to court. The rule of law needs to be applied, so the outcomes are predictable, so lawyers can advise their clients and clients can know what to expect when they come to court. It's not fair to anyone to come to court and have judges do things that make no sense, or that are surprised, or that nobody asked them to do. So that will help our businesses grow, it will help our people have reliable interactions with the courts so they know what the outcomes will be. As was explained earlier, this position will handle domestic and probate cases. Those are civil cases now after Amendment 80. I've practiced with all of them. And I'm a certified guardian ad litem for children. And I'm here with my 4 children, 3 of them, and my wife. I ask for your vote come March 3rd for 2nd Division Circuit Judge. Thank you.
And bench card position.
I hit that earlier. I think I support that. Anything that we can do to help people address those issues short of incarceration, I'm for.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's get up Bird and Lumpkin for the next one, but we were doing well on time. And I did want to make a point of information. All the candidates should have this middle envelope in which is a report by one of our coalition members issued earlier this week, which has some court recommendations as well as other things to present for your consideration. So if you didn't get one, there's one with your name on. Ron. Come up here. There we go. And Ron will take care of you here. Candidates are going to come up here to get the statement. And don't forget, we've got refreshments. In fact, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to get a muffin. They're great. They're great.
I got mine, Ron. You can stop now. How are you? Thanks for doing it. Being so good about the meeting.
Closing in on Bird and Lumpkin. We do ask all the candidates to be over here so we can come up and start speedily. Mary, have you got anything you need? Can I bring in? Morris.
Good morning. Morning. My name is Tawana Bird, and I'm a candidate for 8th Division Circuit Court, which is one of the juvenile divisions. I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, went to high school in Lone Oak High School, went to the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, and came back to Little Rock to go to law school. I am in private practice the second time since 2009, and in my practice I primarily do family and juvenile matters. And because I didn't choose what I call rich people law, I have a lot of jobs. So I'm a public defender in Sherwood Court, and that helps to pay my health insurance, and I continue to have an opportunity to serve the public. I am an attorney ad litem representing juveniles in Poinsett County, Arkansas, who are in foster care. I also am an assistant city attorney in North Little Rock, where I prosecute truancy and handle civil service commission. So in addition to my practice, I have a whole bunch of gigs, but it is an opportunity for me to continue to serve, and as I tell the kids, to be able to buy shoes and go on trips, and I like doing those things. I am running for this position because I want to be part of the wave of reform for juvenile justice. I am a candidate who believes that we need more diversion and less detention. There are a number of children who come out to the juvenile court whose cases end up being passed for 6 months to dismiss. That is a waste of the court's time. That is a waste of judicial economy, and in addition to that, it very often causes more harm than good to our kids. There are a number of community partnerships that I think can be established that aren't yet, and so those are collaborations that can be built to help divert children from coming before the courts at all. There are appropriate interventions that can be put in place for some kids who are low risk, and we're going to determine what their risk for violence is by utilizing evidence-based assessments, such as the safety assessment, which is going to tell whether a child is a high risk or low risk for violence in our community. And those kids that are low risk, we can redirect those kids out of court altogether so that the staff can focus on meeting the needs of the kids who need to be in the juvenile court. The second piece I'd like to bring to the court is additional parent responsibility and accountability. There is no book on how to be a perfect parent, but there are a whole lot of parents who've done it very well. And you all know as well as I do that parent engagement and involvement is critical in the development of children. Good examples, by and large, are what children model. Bad examples, by and large, are what children model. I want to put in place some practical tools for parents to utilize to help better responsibility for their children. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be better parents, but we can put some tools in place that help them to actively engage, to know what's going on, and to hold them responsible for doing that, because ultimately it will help them be better advocates for their own kids in all arenas and not just in the court.
Time.
My name is Tawana Bird, and I'm running for 8th Division Circuit Court, and I would appreciate your vote on March the 3rd.
And bench card ability to pay.
Absolutely support.
Thank you.
My name is Suzanne Lumpkin, and I'm also running for Division Juvenile Court. That is a court I have been in for 16 years. I represent parents that have had their children taken away by DHS, and I also serve juveniles in both courts of 10th Division and 8th Division. I, along with my colleague, believe that juvenile diversion is important. I also believe that parents should be held accountable. I am a parent. I am a wife, a mother of 4 boys, and a grandmother, a proud grandmother of 3 children. I moved here to Arkansas in 1989. I am a military product. My parents raised 4 children. We lived all over the globe. I am a firm believer in parenthood that has quality realities of, what shall I say, let me back up here. I have 4 boys, one of whom has been in front of the judges at juvenile court. I also serve as a special judge at juvenile court, so I've seen it from both sides. I've had to say no when saying no wasn't easy, but saying no was the right thing to do. I think being a judge takes common sense, not only to be fair and impartial and follow the law, but to apply that common sense that I think only comes from being a parent in family court. You understand what it takes to apply the law as a parent. So, going back to my practice, I am a family law attorney. I have made my focus in family court and juvenile court. I've done a lot of pro bono work. That is to offer my services without charge to my clients. Even though some could pay, I don't take the pay. Why? Because they can't afford it, but they deserve good representation. The people that I serve in the DHS cases come to me because I have a contract with the state. So these parents do not have the funds available to have representation through their own funds. And we're talking about these cards for people to be assessed. Listen, in juvenile court, in either the delinquency cases or the DHS cases, they're always assessed through an affidavit of indigency. Every case is assessed that way, and that determines whether these people have the ability to pay or not. And in the juvenile cases, they are assessed according to what they fill out on their affidavit of indigency. In the dependency neglect cases, they are assessed at the beginning of the case. And
Time.
I'm asking for your vote on March 3rd, 2020 for 8th Division Juvenile Court. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next case, Austin and Gill. Could we have Austin and Gill to the front, please? I am astonished to report we are doing well on time. That is an unusual development. Let me take this moment to thank all the workers of the Coalition of Neighborhoods who are making this a success today. We've got Greg Henderson, we've got Mary Henthorne, we have Ron Muse, we have Robert Walker on tech. We have Annie Abrams overseeing the refreshment table to keep that in order. And I hope I haven't overlooked anyone. All right, back to the forum. Austin speaks first. Austin.
Ready? Hello, my name is LaTanya Laird Austin, and I am running for Pulaski County Circuit Court Judge Division 9. Who am I? I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I am an attorney, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, and I'm someone who enjoys what I do in the practice of law. I am a resident of Pulaski County, born and raised. I've raised 3 beautiful daughters, and looking forward to the opportunity to see them grow and be successful in their respective careers. I'm a 1994 graduate of Little Rock Central High. I received my undergraduate degree from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, and then went on to be a Bowen Scholar right here at the Bowen School of Law. And I've been practicing law in Pulaski County in the state of Arkansas ever since. What does a circuit judge do? Circuit court judges here in Pulaski County, we are basically the first line of litigation in the county. And the various types of cases that circuit court judges hear, divorces, custody, child support, paternities, administrative law, breach of contract, personal injury, you name it, it comes before the Pulaski County Circuit Court judge. What law have I practiced? I've been very fortunate to practice in a number of areas, many of which include the areas that I just talked about. In addition to that, I worked in juvenile law, worked in probate law, and I currently do that in my private practice with the Austin Law Firm. I am also a neutral hearing officer for the Pulaski County Housing Agency, and I also sit as a special judge and have been doing that off and on since 2008. It has allowed me to see things from a different perspective. It has allowed me to be a part of this wonderful system we have called the justice system, and I'm happy to be a part of it. We talked about the who, what, when. When is March 3rd, 2020. Can you say March 3rd, 2020? Thank you. March 3rd, 2020, LaTanya Laird Austin will be on your ballot for District 6, Division 9, and I'm asking for your vote and support. Where do you vote? There will be a number of precincts. 9th Division Circuit Court is the only division that is at large. What that means for you is everyone in Pulaski County, that's Little Rock, North Little Rock, Sherwood, Jacksonville, Wrightsville, Hensley, Dig, Jeter, and surrounding areas will be eligible to vote for Division 9. That's not the case for the other judges. They're in sub-districts. But I will be on everyone's ballot in Pulaski County and Perry County. Why am I running? I want to use the skills and the resources that I've become knowledgeable about and that I've acquired over these last 17 years to make a difference in my community, to be able to use everything in a judicial arsenal to make sure that justice occurs in my courtroom. Better individuals make better families make better communities, and that is my goal as a judicial officer. How can you be a part? Make sure you register to vote. Vote LaTanya Austin for Circuit Court Judge, and as it relates to the bench card, I support the bench card because it falls squarely within my 3D platform, which is to use judicial discretion to decrease the negative perception of the bench and to also reach a fair disposition of cases that come before the court. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Judge Andy Gill, and I'm also running for 9th Division Circuit Court. I've been a district judge for the last 7 years. Married to my wife Mandy for 16 years. We have 2 children, David and Lily, who are 10 and 12. I want to address the bench card first, if I can, because I don't want to run out of time at the end to give that short shrift. I am for the bench card. In fact, I was on a conference call yesterday where we were kind of discussing the bench card and some worksheets that we might be able to use in the courtroom that would allow the judge to have additional information to make those determinations. I want to talk a few things that I've done while I've been on the bench for the last 7 years that relate to the bench card. We've lowered fines in my court for several offenses that I have always labeled the poor people offenses, which come back to failure to pay, which we've eliminated fines for failure to pay, which was not the case before I took the bench there. We've lowered fines for failure to appear, for driving on suspended, for other types of charges that seem to disproportionately affect people who are economically disadvantaged. We also don't suspend driver's licenses at all. We don't suspend driver's licenses unless it's for driving-related offenses or required by law. There are a few statutes that require that, but we don't do it for failure to pay, and we don't do it for failure to appear. Because putting someone in a position where they can't drive legally, just keeps them bound into the criminal justice system and affects their ability to drive. We've also created financial responsibilities classes that we've tried to use in lieu of jail time for people that need help getting back into the system correctly and getting caught up with their fines and giving credit toward their fines for that. And we've created a more robust community service program to help those folks as well. So a little bit about my history before I took the bench. Before I went to law school, I worked in the mental health field. So I was a case manager for counseling associates for several years. I worked with mentally ill adults that were leaving the state hospital and transitioning back into the community. Then I also worked with kids with behavioral problems that were referred from local schools. After law school, I became a prosecutor. I've had a wide variety of cases, a lot of trial experience doing that. But what I began to focus on over the last several years was more in the area of restorative justice. So drug courts and juvenile courts is where I've spent my time. I've been on the Drug Court Professionals Board for the last 4 years. In fact, I was named the Drug Court Professionals Board Lawyer of the Year in 2018. And 9th Division has traditionally been the mental health court and the drug court. Now, dockets change. The administrative plan is redone fairly regularly, but I've talked to Judge James. There's plenty of work to do in that area. And experience with substance abuse and with mental health treatment have wide applications, whether the docket is probate, whether it's domestic, whether it's criminal. Those are skills that can be applied in many areas of the law. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I very much appreciate your vote on March 3rd.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Locke Roth. I'm running for the 10th Division Juvenile Court. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background information about myself, I grew up here in Little Rock, a proud product of the Little Rock School District. Attended the University of Arkansas, obtained my undergraduate degree there. Came back here for law school because this was my hometown. I knew I wanted to come back to this area and practice. I'm running specifically for the juvenile court seat of 10th Division because I'm concerned, just like many of you I'm sure in the room, concerned about our young people in this community and their future and what lies ahead for them. I've been practicing law in this state for 22 years. I've had an opportunity to travel all over the state of Arkansas representing individuals in family law cases and criminal cases as well. I've had a lot of happy moments in my law practice. I've also seen a lot of sad moments in our law practice as well. I've seen families who have suffered, seeing family members die from gun violence and having to come to court. I've also represented many defendants who family members have also suffered as well, seeing their family members have to serve extended prison sentences over time. And those type of things affect you when you see this every day. What I saw in my practice quite often over and over again, that many of my clients in criminal cases that I represented that had juvenile cases in their background. Many of them started out in juvenile court and then worked their way up into the adult system. And that right there is where I saw a need, and we really need to try to do something within our juvenile justice system. And so my platform has been simple, which is what I'm running on. We need to first work on dismantling our school-to-prison pipelines. We cannot afford to let too many of our citizens subject themselves to mass incarceration. Okay, Arkansas will never move ahead if we don't address that issue now. So we need to start investing more into our young people in additional ways to keep them out of the prison system. I want to work on reforming our juvenile justice system. There's a trend nationally and as well as in this state as well as far as reforming our juvenile justice system. I want to be a part of that. And I also want to work toward reestablishing the trust back into our juvenile justice system. We cannot take a cookie-cutter approach toward juvenile justice, okay? We need to have an individualized, evidence-based approach to addressing the specific needs of each juvenile that may come through that court. 22 years of practice, what I believe sets me apart from my opponents in the race. I have a background. My degree is in secondary education, so I've been trained in working with middle school and high school students from an early level in my career. I also am a husband, okay, married 24 years. I have 2 children, 20 years old, 17 years old. So we're about close to having an empty nest. So at this point in my career, I want to focus on the young people of our community. My name is Locke Roth. I ask for your support for 10th Division. Thank you.
Bench card.
I support the bench card.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Shanice Johnson, and I'm running for 10th Division Circuit Judge here in Pulaski and Perry County. It's one of 2 juvenile judge seats that are up for election on March 3rd, 2020. And so a little bit about me. I'm a first-generation college student and the oldest of 2. I'm also an attorney at the Arkansas Department of Human Services, where my primary focus and practice has been juvenile law, Medicaid law, and employment law. And so the reason that I'm running for judge is because I have help and support to get to where I am today, and I want to ensure that the youth in our district get the help and support that they need in order to transcend from the circumstances that brought them before the court. And so to that point, I want to bring to you that the CDC did a survey last year in which they analyzed childhood trauma. And to do this, they examined what they call ACEs. And so what they found is that Arkansas, as a national leader, is #1 in the nation regarding childhood trauma. 60% of our youth have experienced at least one average childhood experience. And what that is, our examples are substance abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence in the home, having a parent that's incarcerated. And this is significant because individuals who have experienced ACEs are more likely to develop diabetes, cancer, suffer from depression, and persons who have a lot of ACEs have a shorter life expectancy. And so I believe that our youth deserve a judicial system that is not only focused on punishing them or figuring out what's wrong with them, but
asking why and what happened to you. I believe that through this lens, we can better serve our youth and our community as a whole. And so to that point, I have a platform to bring this court to be a national leader in how we habilitate and rehabilitate our youth. Because oftentimes as a community, when we discuss these families and helping and addressing these services and their needs, we assume that they have the skill sets and tools to avoid the circumstances that brought them before the court in the first place. And so I intend to fight for diversion programs that involve more community partners that to deliver services that are evidence-based and trauma-informed. We are at a time when we have access to a plethora of technology, and I feel that it's important for us to utilize that technology to make the court more efficient and more accessible to our community. And I'm uniquely qualified for this position due to my public health training at University of Arkansas Medical Sciences and my experience as an attorney at DHS. Public health, just in short, is the science of improving the health of people and communities, recognizing that there are various social determinants and factors that affect a person's health, as far as economics, poverty, housing insecurity, food insecurity, education. All these things impact how well a family and person and community is doing. I've utilized that training in my practice at DHS in order to assist them in providing and delivering services to our Arkansas families, and so I'm well aware. The time is now for us to stop the wholesale warehousing of our youth without addressing mitigating factors. And so my name is Shanice Johnson, and I ask for your vote on March 3rd, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Your bench card?
I support that initiative as well.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Warren. I'm running for 10th Division Circuit Court as well. I grew up 8 blocks down the street that way between 19th and Pine and 20th and Pine. My parents are James M. Butch Warren and Joyce Warren, who is the judge who occupies the seat that I am seeking, and she's having to retire due to an age provision. My parents taught me a lot of values, one of them being the value of hard work and that nobody's going to hand you anything. And so in my life, I have worked very hard for every accomplishment that I have achieved and for everything that I have been blessed with in my life. I grew up in Little Rock. I lived 3 months in Memphis, 3 months in Houston as a baby, so I don't remember that. So all of my memories are of Little Rock. I'm a proud graduate of Little Rock Central High School, UALR for undergrad, and UALR for law school. I'm married to my wife Courtney for 13 years with a child, Quentin, who is 6 years old. I have 2 brothers, one who has been in 2 skirmishes, legal trouble, and has actually been to prison, so I know what that's like to have a family member who's actually been to prison. And in fact, in one of his trials, I was actually studying for the bar exam while I was watching his jury trial for a first-degree battery charge. And when I was studying for the bar, it was the second time that I took the bar because I failed the bar the first time I took it. So I am used to challenges in my life, being knocked down, having to get back up. It took me 3 tries to get into law school, 2 times to pass the bar. So I am no stranger to hard work. When I went to law school, it was part-time. I worked during the day. I took out loans. So I busted my tail, for lack of a better phrase, to finish law school and to graduate in about the top quarter of my class. What sets me apart from my 2 opponents is I believe that I have the widest range of legal experience and life experience that uniquely qualifies me for this job. I've been a law clerk to an assistant Supreme Court justice. I've been a deputy prosecutor at the prosecuting attorney's office for 5 years. I was an assistant attorney general at the attorney general's office for 4 years. Had the privilege to argue in St. Louis at the 8th Circuit United States Court of Appeals, and based on that legal experience, the governor appointed me to be an special justice to the Supreme Court, which of course is the highest court in this state. In my legal experience, I have literally looked at and handled thousands of cases. I want to echo what they both said about trauma and having evidence-based and looking at each child as a separate case. There have been some community concerns, especially in the Black community and communities of color, about youth detention. Since 2011, so in the past 8 years, there's actually been a downward trend of about 40% in the amount My name is Jonathan Warren. I would truly appreciate your vote March 3rd. I want to continue the good work that the juvenile justices have done in the 3 courts that have been there. I'm the most equipped to continue that, and I do support the benchmark. And so I truly appreciate your vote March 3rd. Thank you.
So I'm going to declare a 10-minute intermission. I think we may have our late friends coming too. And is there someone here?
Good morning. Most of you in the room know that I'm Andrew Ballard. My friends call me Andy. Went to law school in Little Rock. That's where I met my lovely bride, who's also my law partner. We own a family law firm, Ballard & Ballard. When I met her, she came with 3 wonderful daughters. They were very young at the time. I've been lucky enough to raise them and be a father to them throughout the years. I've been told by political experts that most voters don't care about 14th Division. I just need to be likable. I need to just give you some anecdote or tell you that my father's an electrician, that I was raised in a blue-collar home, first to graduate college, and, that's great. But I think voters do care. And the reason is because I care about this seat. I care about all these judicial seats because unlike any other race, on the federal level, the state level, you're not going to have somebody sitting, listening to what's going on in your home and making decisions that impact you personally. 14th Division is a family law seat. I say that because 70% of the cases are domestic relations. That's divorce, child custody, visitation, paternity. And then you also have the probate side, guardianships and adoptions, wills. This is what I practice. As a matter of fact, I write the Arkansas Family Law Practice Series book. I don't bring this to go, oh look, it's a thick book, I must know the law, because anybody can learn the law. You heard one of the candidates saying they had 9 months to learn statutes. But what you can't learn in a court of equity like this, that deals with every area and facet of people's lives, is what I find to be the most important. And that is the best interest of children and the best interest of incapacitated people. I could stand up here and dangle a shiny object in front of voters, try to give them a single issue. But here's the thing, experience matters when it comes to making decisions for families. And you can only get that experience by being a family law attorney. I'm the only family law attorney running in this race. I have dedicated my career to families. I've dedicated my life to my family. That's why you haven't seen me joining every club. You haven't seen me out because I was dedicated to raising my family. Now, when it comes to this court, what am I going to be asking? Because I'll be voting in these judicial races. And when it's a family law seat, I'm going to want to know, what is your experience in families? I'm an attorney ad litem, the only one in my race. The only one that has argued and decided the best interest of a child or the best interest of an elderly person. Here's the thing. Would you hire that person to represent you in that court? That's what I ask myself. As for the bench car, I support anything that helps the disadvantaged. Even though it's not going to be a big deal in 14th Division, this issue, I do think it's a great idea. I want you to remember, Ballard on the ballot, March 3rd, 2020. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of Sean Johnson this morning. I'm actually the only person standing up before you today who's not an attorney or a lawyer, and also the only person whose future is not at stake today. But I want to briefly mention, Sean could not be here. He's in Fayetteville for a board meeting, but he wanted me to briefly mention some of the credentials that he has for this position. He's 5th generation Arkansan. He's an Eagle Scout, very important to me. He's worked in all 3 divisions of the government. He worked in the Clinton White House. He worked as an aide to Senator Bumpers in the Senate. He is currently on his 13th year of working at the Attorney General's office. He has worked for both Dustin McDaniels and Leslie Rutledge, which brings me to two things that I think are important in this race. Again, I'm not an attorney, I don't know the courts, but I think I am married to a judge. And I think watching the transition that she made from practice into a judicial position, there were only two things that I thought were important that she takes with her. All of the people here today are well-credentialed to do these jobs, there's no question about it. What you can't learn in school are two things: your objectivity and your fairness. I think that Sean's experience working with both the Democratic and the Republican Party Attorney Generals is an indication that he gets along with everybody. He is a person that's open to all positions and ideas. And the other one is honesty and character. And I would offer you an anecdote in regard to that. Again, he's an Eagle Scout. Sean and I were standing on the curb at the North Little Rock Christmas parade. Before the parade started, the street was completely empty, no cars, no parade. We're in the middle of the block. We see some people across the street that he wants to say hello to. And I said, well, let's cross the street and let you meet them. I stepped off the curb and I turned around and Sean was gone. And I looked around. Sean had walked up to the corner, to the crosswalk, and pushed the button to wait for the light to change, to cross the street and come back down the block to meet these people. And I asked him, why did you find it necessary to do that? And he said, it's not in my blood to break the law. So I find Tim to be the most honest person that I've ever met. And I hope you'll vote for him on March 3rd. And again, his apologies that he couldn't be here, but he had something that's been on his schedule for quite a while.
Time. Thank you. Did he support the bench guard, or did you have a chance to ask
I'm
him?
reluctant to speak on his behalf, but at this point I'd say he'd be crazy not to.
We got a technical moment here.
Good. It's on? It's on, isn't it?
Hedrick in the back row, can you hear? Say testing. At the mic.
Say what?
Please say testing something.
Testing something.
Good, okay. All righty, our technology is back on order. Barry, please talk.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us this morning. I'm Tom Barry. I'm excited I'm running for Circuit Judge 14th Division. I'm a Little Rock native and a third generation Little Rock attorney. I know and love Central Arkansas, and I'm committed to helping our community. 14th Division is currently held by Judge Van Smith, who's retiring. Judge Smith is a fine judge and a good man. I've known him for 30 plus years, and I've been in his court too many times to count. Now, he does hear domestic and probate cases. Does that mean if I win this election that I'll automatically inherit his docket and hear probate and domestic cases? No, that's not the way it normally works. What happens is when a judge retires, the sitting judges get to take whatever part of the retiring judge's docket that they want. For instance, Judge Kathy Compton, she currently hears civil cases, mostly domestic. When she starts her new term, at her request, she's going to do strictly a criminal docket. So I think whoever wins this seat is going to have a mixed bag of cases. During my years of practice, I've kind of learned how the system works, where the problems are, and how to address them. And I think one of the biggest problems we're facing is this drug epidemic. It's devastating our community, and it's not getting better. The number of drug cases continues to rise. Opiate overdose is the #1 cause of death among our young people. It's just overwhelming our law enforcement, our EMTs, our emergency rooms, and even our courts. Whatever we're doing is not working. I think we know we can't arrest our way out of this. I want to be your judge because I think a judge should have the means to fast track addicts into treatment, provide them wraparound services with the goal of getting them better so they can become contributing members of our community. This model's been used in other courts around the country, and my question is, why not us? I want to be your judge because I believe that the justice system should be accessible to everyone, and that it treat everyone the same with respect and dignity. Everyone should have a voice, and it's unacceptable in Arkansas that number 4 nationally as to homicides committed by men against women. That has to change. Victims' voices must be heard. Earlier I was thinking about what kind of docket am I going to inherit if I win this election. I think my point is, my overall point is, I've been practicing 35 years in our circuit courts. I have tried every kind of case that a circuit judge might hear. So it really doesn't matter to me what kind of docket I inherit if I win. I've tried that kind of case. I think, well, I know, I want to be your judge because I think I'm the most experienced and qualified candidate.
Time.
No one comes close to my 35 years. The election is March 3rd, 2020. I'm prepared. I hope you have your vote, and I support the petition.
The bench card.
The bench card.
Thank you so much. Next race is a little early. I hope we have them all here. I know we had a candidate who had a time constraint. Johnson, Shue, and Rogers, are we all here?
I don't believe they shoot.
Well, let's just take another intermission. We're ahead of the game. Let's just relax. Have a cup of coffee. This was supposed to start at 11:40.
He's here.
Oh, he's here. Okay. We were just calling your name. We're running ahead, astonishingly enough. So we won't have an intermission, really. We'll just get it organized here. All our technology in working order there? Okay. We're pausing for technical difficulties.
Somebody speak. Hello.
Hedrick in the back row, can you hear that? Okay, we're back in order. Okay. Let's see, Johnson, Shue, and Rogers. Take your seats up here, please. Okay. All right, get an agenda and sign it twice. Okay. First to speak is Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for sticking it out for the very last round of candidates to speak to you today. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you to the coalition for having us today. And thanks to those of you who are here to hear about these races and for watching online, because judicial races, I think often do get ignored, but I'd hazard a guess that just about everyone in this room and everyone watching has had some major life event where a judge has made a decision about that. And so these races matter, so thank you for being here today. I'm Amy Dunn Johnson. I'm running for 15th Division Circuit Court, which is a position currently held by retiring Judge Dick Moore. I have 16 years of experience in both the public and private sectors, having represented clients ranging from large hospital systems to individual folks who can't afford to pay an attorney. I've held volunteer leadership roles for more than a dozen nonprofit organizations and other entities in Arkansas and nationally that work to advance justice and work to advance equity. You may remember Judge Welch talked about a committee even here in Arkansas that's working to make our court system more accessible to everyone, and I have the privilege of co-chairing a committee that deals specifically with people who are having to represent themselves in court. I'm in my 11th year serving as the executive director of the Arkansas Access to Justice Commission, where we do work to make sure that everyone, no matter where they live, how much money they make, or who they are, that they get access to our court system. And let me tell you, we have a long way to go. If you were to fill, I guess now it's not Verizon Arena, it's Simmons Arena. If you were to fill Simmons Arena right now with poor Arkansans who have a legal need and put one lawyer in that arena, that is the scale of what everyday Arkansans have access to when it comes to representation in court. And our court system is designed with the assumption that everyone is going to have an attorney. And we, as a court system, need to adapt to the reality that it is the exception rather than the rule that people are going to have legal counsel. I think sometimes, for those of us who are lawyers and have been lawyers for a long time, and those who've even served as judges before, when we look at the court system, I feel a little bit like it's like taking our cell phone and we take a selfie of ourselves, and we see our system from the outside looking in, and we see it in a way that, it's organized for our convenience and to work for judges and lawyers. We don't necessarily turn that camera out and look at the people that we're serving and look at meeting them where they are. And that's why I'm running for circuit judge, because I've had the experience in my role as the director of the Access to Justice Commission of helping people who don't and don't have an attorney. I am Amy Johnson. I would be grateful for your vote on March the 3rd. And I will say about the bench card, I read the Too Poor to Pay report when it came out. And not only do I support the bench card, but I also support changes to the way that our court system is funded so that we are not relying on fines and fees to fund a co-equal branch of government.
Next up is Shue.
3 minutes?
3 minutes. I have the time clock on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here. My name is Jay Shue, and I'm running for Circuit Judge in the 15th Division. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be running for Circuit Judge, and I hope to be one of your next Circuit Judges. You guys are all here in person, and the people that will end up watching this on video, all for the same reasons that I'm standing up here wanting to be your judge. You care about our community. You care about what the future for our children, our grandchildren, and the next generation will be. And this is an important election for all those reasons. You care deeply about the community and the future of it. I'm excited about telling you why I want to be a circuit judge. The main reason why is because I feel like that I have the public trust. Over my career, over the past 23 years, I've held some pretty important positions. I started as a prosecutor. I was director of the Medicaid Fraud Unit at the Attorney General's office. I was the state's first Medicaid Inspector General, where I watched out for your tax dollars, fraud, waste, and abuse, and try to go after those people that abuse our system. So the two key elements I believe to being a circuit judge are that you have a passion for public service and you have the experience in the courtroom to back that up. Over the course of my career, I've been blessed with the opportunity to be a prosecutor. Like I said, I was that for 10 years here in Pulaski County. My responsibilities carried all throughout Pulaski and Perry County. I had responsibility for each of the district courts. I got a chance to meet and work with a lot of citizens in that time, also police officers and victims. One thing about being a prosecutor, people seem to forget, the person you're prosecuting is just one element of that. There are tons of other elements that go into that. You have to work with the judges and the judges' offices. You have to work with the victims, with the police departments, jurors. Everyone in the community is involved. Next, I was director of the Medicaid Fraud Unit. I did that for 6 years at the Attorney General's office, where we had civil and criminal responsibility. Going into that, I feel like I've got a well-rounded background where I've done civil, criminal, domestic work. I've been on all sides of it. Not until I started getting into private practice, I went to Wright Lindsay Jennings, and then I've got my own practice, which I'll talk about in a minute. Did I get a chance to also represent defendants in court, both criminal and civil defendants, people that have lost their children in domestic and family law cases. So I've had all those experiences, and each experience and stop that I've had in my career, I've gained a little more perspective on what I think would be an added bonus of being a judge and serving you in this community. The last government job I had was I was appointed as the state's first Medicaid Inspector General by Governor Beebe. I also served under Governor Hutchinson in that role, so a total of about 2 years. And I was looking out for y'all's tax dollars, fraud, waste, and abuse. And so through those government jobs that I've had the opportunity to earn the public's trust. I've been trusted by a lot of people with a lot of important roles, and I did well in those roles. It's given me a perspective on being a circuit judge that I think that really adds value in representing you. And finally, I want to be of service to all of y'all, and I want to go back to the service to my community. And like I just started out, and I think I have all the elements that will make a good judge. And finally, I ask for your vote. Remember, the shoe fits. Thank you.
And the bench card position.
Ma'am.
We're asking people about whether what their position is on a proposed bench card that would make statewide regulations on ability to pay being reviewed by each judge before imposing a sentence or fine.
Just to make sure that I understand, so you're saying that any fine that would be imposed on somebody would be judged or accredited based off of what their ability to pay would be?
That would be taken into consideration, and that there would be a bench card short memo that would guide you through taking up Kathy's ability to pay before you impose sentence on Kathy.
Well, this is obviously new to me, so I'm just hearing about this today, and I apologize for that if I was supposed to be prepared for that. But certainly, I'm open to addressing that. As a prosecutor, as a government servant, I've seen so many people that have come into court that can't afford and can't get out from underneath the huge burdens that they have. Some of the stuff I've done pro bono is exactly that. People that couldn't get a job because they couldn't afford to hire an attorney to be able to get a criminal offense from 20 years ago that should have been off their record. Seems like a simple thing.
And we do have a study in which that material is incorporated. Please make sure you stop at the sign-in desk and get your copy.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me.
Okay, Rogers is next. Are we good on the tape? All right, sir. 3 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Kathy, thank you again for having us. This is an important election, and you pointed that out early on, and I believe that truly will make a difference for the next 15 or 20 years. I'm Gary Rogers. I'm running for 15th Division. That's Judge Moore's seat. He's retiring. Judge Moore has served this community well, and we ought to thank him for the service that he's given to the community. A little bit about me. I've been practicing law for 37 years. I'm married to my best friend, Mal. We have 2 children, 4 grandchildren. My wife made her entire career teaching young people. She is a career, 35 years teaching school. I've been practicing law for 37 years, and the most important thing we have in this community is our children. I've been practicing family law for 37 years. Brief history: for 21 years I was a district judge. I have served as a special circuit judge in the very circuits that we're talking about here today, and I was blessed to be appointed special justice to the Arkansas Supreme Court. There's 3 reasons why I'm running for circuit judge. One is we've got an epidemic as it relates to failure to pay child support. We've got young people out here that rely on their parents to take care of them, and that's not being done. Platte and Perry counties, we've got millions of dollars in unpaid child support. And as a family law practitioner, I've seen that get worse over the years. I've seen single parents struggling to make a living just to support those children. I also see parents using the children to manipulate their divorce proceedings. They use them as pawns to try to get either out of paying child support or other obligations that they might have. Those things have got to stop. The other reason why I'm running for circuit judge is because we've got to hold litigants accountable. You've got to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do to protect those children. It's unbelievable the amount of time that people spend trying to manipulate the system, and I've seen it for 37 years, and it's going to stop in 15th Division. With respect, Kathy, to your bench card, for 21 years I was a district judge, and before we even heard the term bench card, I used those metrics in determining what the punishment should be for litigants in district court. For example, we used community service when someone couldn't afford it. We, in fact, inquired and tried to be creative about ways in which we did those things. So yes,
And time.
absolutely, the beach card is absolutely the way to go. Thank you.
And we have completed our schedule. We're even a few minutes early. I'm astonished at that, and I think it's a good omen for judicial elections. Early voting is February the 17th, and the election itself is March 3rd. They will be down at the low end of the ballot, so you have to keep flipping through the pages or the screens and keep on voting. And when you come to those pages, you should be prepared to know the candidates. And that's what we hope to achieve today. We will have this up, as you've got from the referral on the agenda page, at clrn.ar on the Facebook page we have. We sure encourage you to promote that and publicize that. We also have this map showing what 6.2 and 6.1 districts are, because a lot of people don't understand that, and it's important. It's a generational change. Thank you all for coming. Good luck on the campaign trail, and thank you so much for participating this morning.
Thank you.